Krishna. Welcome to our weekly Bhakti Vaibhav class. In the previous class, we discussed from chapter 5, wherein Lord Shiva destroys Daksha and also Veerabhadra. Then afterwards, what happened? What did the affected party, the devatas and brahmanas, did? That is the subject matter of this chapter. So this chapter entitled as Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva, the devatas approach Lord Shiva. In the 6th chapter, there is a description of Kailasha. Brahma goes to Lord Shiva, who is in Kailash, who was sitting under a banyan tree. There, along with the devatas, Lord Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva with his prayers. This is the entire topic of this chapter. Here we have a few subsections of this entire chapter. So first few verses, devatas approach Lord Brahma for help, and Lord Brahma instructs the devatas what to do. Then Lord Brahma personally takes them to Kailash. There is a description of Mount Kailash. And then they all have darshan of Lord Shiva and they offer obeisance to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva offers to Brahma, that is there. And then Brahma speaks very nice, polite words in order to convince Lord Shiva on behalf of the devatas, so that the things can be settled. Hare Krishna. Devotees can mute. Madhavi Gopi Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
No. Maitreya Uvacha Atadevagana Sarve Rudranikai Parajita Sulapattischa Nitrimsha Gada Pariga Mudgarai Sanchinna Binna Sarvanga Sartvik Sabya Bayakula Swayambhuve Namaskritya Karsne Naitan Vedayan.
All the priests and other members of the sacrificial assembly and all the demigods, having been defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva and injured by weapons like tridents and swords, approached Lord Brahma with great fear. After offering him obeisances, they began to speak in detail of all the events which had taken place.
Yeah. So in great fear, the affected devatas and the brahmanas, the assembled guests and the priests who are wounded all over their bodies, defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva, who had been armed with tridents, spears, swords, clubs, iron bars, and hammers, offered respects to Lord Brahma and informed him fully of the events. What all happened on the sacrificial arena of Daksha, everything has been informed to Lord Brahma, because it is only Lord Brahma can settle the matter. That's why. Upalabhya Puraivaitad Bhagavan Abjasambhava Narayanascha Vishwatma Nakasyadvaram Iyatu.
Both Lord Brahma and Vishnu had already known that such events would occur in the sacrificial arena of Daksha. And knowing beforehand, they did not go to the sacrifice.
So, Brahma, Bhagavan Abjasambhava, and Lord Vishnu, who is the soul of the universe, Narayanascha Vishwatma, knowing that this would happen, had not gone to the sacrifice of Daksha. Because Lord Brahma was a direct witness what had happened the last time, where Daksha criticized Lord Shiva, and eventually Lord Shiva's followers cursed Daksha, and Daksha's followers cursed Shiva's followers. Lord Shiva disappointedly went back. Then Brahma also went that time. So understanding that Daksha is not yet realized his mistake, so Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu did not go there, even though they were invited. So that was the thing. So Srila Prabhupada quotes that Vedaham Samditani Vartamanani Arjuna. Lord Vishnu knows that everything that happened in the past, in the present, and that is going to happen in the future, something like that. So he knew it, that's why he did not go. Knowing because they are omniscient, they did not go. ne na iyatu. So na iyatu. Kashya advaram. They did not go to the sacrificial arena of Daksha. So that was the whole thing.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Prabhuji, just means small question arises in the mind that if they were so sure that so much destruction will be happening, means they are in such a position that they could have prevented it also. No? Otherwise, somebody knowing something big will happen but not doing anything like.
See, they knew and still they are doing it. That is their mistake. Even we also knew many things, still we do many things, many times. So that time Lord he becomes a witness. He does not interfere unnecessarily. So the people who are in that assembly knew that Daksha is unnecessarily criticizing Lord Shiva, but still they did not do anything. And they again went back with the invitation of Daksha. So it's like that. So the Brahmanas are supposed to be know what is right, what is not right. If knowingly if they make mistake, they'll go through punishment. So it's like that.
Okay, that is all. Lord and Brahma, both of them didn't take part in.
Because this sacrifice is performed neglecting Lord Shiva. So it is kind of offensive mentality displayed towards Lord Shiva. So Brahma and Vishnu did not like that. So they did not go. But other devatas and other brahmanas and priests, they did not take it so seriously and they went. So they went through proper purification. So like that.
Knowingly means Brahma is the father of Daksha, but still he couldn't, tell him that whatever you are doing is wrong and you should not be doing this. This is the biggest aparadh
No.
you are.
Even now also there are parents know what is right, what wrong. They still they cannot tell to their children. Because children, if they are not willing to listen, then what parents can do?
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it's like that.
Prabhu.
Even last time Daksha in one sense criticized Brahma also because you told me to give my daughter to Lord Shiva in
Yeah.
marriage. This Papar indirectly criticized Brahma also. Then what Brahma can tell?
Right. Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
तदा कर्ण्य विभूप्राह तेजीयसि कृतागसि क्षेमाया तत्र सा भूयान् नाप्रायेण बुभूषताम्. Yeah, someone can read the translation.
When Lord Brahma heard everything from the demigods and the members who had attended the sacrifice, he replied, "You cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality and thereby offend his lotus feet. You cannot have happiness in that way."
Hearing of the events, Lord Brahma spoke, Vibhu Praha. Since you have committed offense to a great soul, Tejiyasi Kritagasi. So all of you siding Daksha are accepting the invitation of Daksha, where Daksha is offending Lord Shiva. All of you also performed a great offense towards Lord Shiva. Though you desire to live with material comforts, Kshemaya Bubushatam. The purpose of performing the sacrifice is to bring welfare to each one of them. Welfare to themselves, welfare to the entire universe. That was the reason they all went to the sacrifice. Even though desiring auspicious to all of you, you went for the sacrifice at the cost of committing offense to Lord Shiva. Generally, it is better that you do not live. For that offense, if you remember in the previous class, Mother Sati was saying that what are the three ways to respond to an offense. So it is better that you do not live because you have taken part in the great offense. It is better that you do not live. Like that, Lord Shiva. All of you are at least somehow survived, but better than that is you should not live. So, like that, Brahmaji told. Having committed offense to a great soul, for those desiring to live for comforts of life, for those who desire to live for the happiness, should not occur. So, if at all one want to live happily and comfortably, one should never offend a great soul. because desiring prosperity and offending great soul go ill together, something like that. Since they have committed offense to Lord Shiva, for Daksha and others who are dead, dying or about to die, and who desire to live for material pleasure, that desire to live in comfort should not be fulfilled. Whether it is for Daksha, whether it is for the priest, whether it is for the devatas who all participated in the sacrifice, they were performing the sacrifice for the betterment of their life, seeking some prosperity from their life, but at the cost of offending Lord Shiva. The result should be death. So like that is good for them, like that Lord Brahma is telling. The offenders like Daksha should die. They should not live. Living, they will commit more offenses. What is the use of their lives? Better that they die. So like that, when Devata said that Daksha died for a small mistake, so please do something to revive Daksha. Then Brahma says no. Daksha made a great grave mistake. It is better that he should die. The dying is only best for him. So something like that. Last time when we saw that even if people hear in that assembly the offense is committed to great soul, they should die immediately. Something like that is said in the previous chapter. So in that way, Lord Brahma is saying.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhuji, I was just trying to understand with the current, whatever the thinking pattern is like, means they said no that capital punishment should be banned and these things like that. So they feel that means, okay, a person has committed one offense, but he should be given a chance to rectify and means sudhar jai person that way. So in contrast to what the Vedic philosophy is telling, this is should we consider the current thinking as just mental speculations from their own side? And
No. Actually, the capital punishment is kind of put on standstill because innocent people are punished, even though they have not committed any crime. They were given that capital punishment. That was proven later on after the punishment is executed. Then what one can do? So that was the reason the capital punishment kind of said avoid it. Better give prison imprisonment, life imprisonment. If at all they are not the victims, it will be known eventually. In due course, certain somebody else will come and prove that they are not guilty, etc. So there is a chance. So, but if they are punished immediately, then there is no possibility. See, everything has got pros and cons. In this Kali Yuga, things are entirely deviant. Whatever we are discussing here, that philosophy, what Brahma is telling that is better for them to die, something like that.
yeah,
Of course, it is applicable mostly in the previous yugas. In the Kali Yuga, we don't know what is right, what is wrong, what to do, what is not to do. People always start offending other Vaishnavas. So we may be there. So just by hearing one the offense, if you die, so we don't know what will happen to us. We ourselves are not in that pure level. Kali Yuga, living itself is a great difficulty. And for small thing, I mean, these are not small things, but for each and
yeah,
everything,
that is
better is to
and
die.
what happens
It may
then
not be correct.
means a lot of twists and lot of questions remain in the mind that we are learning something, but actually what we see is something else, and we don't know the connection between two. That becomes the position of
So this is
fallen
the
soul.
ideal. This is the ideal principle. So we should try to follow. The best thing is that we should not offend, and we should not take place where offense is going on. If at all some offense is going on, we happen to be there. We should not enjoy it.
And one more point, it is
And
said,
repent.
like, okay, like here it is said that the person will do more offenses further, and that is why his life should be better terminated. And also we have heard in the previous like Bhagavatam only that if that person is not punished here, then he will have to undergo the greater punishment with Yamaraj when he leaves the body eventually. So
Yes,
it is
yes,
by giving him the death punishment, actually the king helps him to reduce his punishment over there like that. So
yes.
that
That is
is
true. That is true. That is true.
okay. But in
That's why
Kali Yuga,
some
these are not
punishment is given. If not capital punishment, at least life imprisonment is given. That is also a punishment. See.
right.
See, in Kali Yuga, the thing is that we are not certain what is what also many times. So many things happening around. At least we should be careful from our side.
Yeah, and what you said is correct. Like in Kali Yuga, many times somebody else does the crime and somebody else is just put into that position to bear the punishment. So that point has to be taken into consideration.
Generally, they should not live. Whether it is Daksha and the followers of Daksha who committed offense to Lord Shiva, they should not live. Among those offenders, some living may not commit more offenses. Some of them innocent, somehow or other, knowingly or unknowingly, either by force or unwillingly, they continue to stay in that assembly. Whether they are heard or not, but somehow they are there. So they have the scope to purify themselves. So they should have the desire to live and they can remain alive. Even Lord Brahma is giving a benefit out that not that everyone in that assembly is a party to Daksha, because some of them, because they were invited, they are there. Some of them, they need to be, they want to be there. They want to be part of that sacrifice. They are there. They never had any desire to be part of that offense, but somehow it happened. So not by their will, but it is happening on the higher level, what they can do. So Brahma is saying that that kind of people, if they desire to live, they can live. But whatever punishment is given to all of you, that is apt. Like that, Lord Brahma is, in one sense, is telling that whatever punishment is given, that is actually correct. Knowingly or unknowingly being part of the offense, it is supposed to be obtained like that. Lord Brahma is kind of settling the matter with the devatas.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
अतापि यूयं कृतकिल्बिषाभवम् ये बर्हि सौभागभाजं प्रराधु प्रसादयध्वं परिशुद्धचेतसा क्षिप्रप्रसादं प्रगृहीताङ्घ्रिपद्मम्. Yeah, someone can read the translation.
I'll read the next one. Somebody take this one.
You have excluded Lord Shiva from taking part in the sacrificial results, and therefore you are all offenders at his lotus feet. Still, if you go without mental reservations and surrender unto him and fall down on his lotus feet, he will be very pleased.
Yeah. Now, whatever punishment all of you are received, that is actually needed to be received so that you can correct your mistake. And whatever punishment Daksha had received, the death punishment, that is apt for him because he is the main person who committed the offense. That is good for him, for his own good only. So now, if at all you desire to live and you desire some prosperity, etc., etc., you need to beg forgiveness from Lord Shiva. That is what is mentioned by Brahma here. If you desire to live, then you who have committed offense, who have exalted Shiva from his share of the sacrifice, should please him with pure hearts, since he is pleased easily if you touch his lotus feet. He says that if at all you desire to live, if at all you desire some prosperity in the future, since you have committed offenses to the Lord Shiva, now better you go to Shiva and fall at his feet, touch his feet, and beg forgiveness from Lord Shiva. Since Lord Shiva is Ashutosh, easily pleased, if you touch his feet, he will easily forgive all of you so that all of you can continue to live with prosperity. It's like that. However, if you want to live, you who have committed offense, who excluded Lord Shiva from his share of the sacrifice, should please Lord Shiva. One should not say that pleasing Lord Shiva is difficult, because Lord Shiva is pleased simply if you grasp his lotus feet. I know Lord Shiva's mind. Lord Shiva is generally called as Ashutosh, easily pleased. So it is not very difficult to please him. Just go to him, fall at his feet and beg, hold his feet and request for forgiveness. He will be pleased with that simple demeanor. आसासान जीवितम् अध्वरस्य लोका सपाला कुपितेन यस्मिन् तमासु देवं प्रियया विहीनं क्षमापयध्वं हृदि विद्धं दुरुक्तै.
Lord Brahma also advised them that Lord Shiva is so powerful that by his anger, all the planets and their chief controllers can be destroyed immediately. Also, he said that Lord Shiva was especially sorry because he had recently lost his dear wife and was also very much afflicted by the unkind words of Daksha. Under the circumstances, Lord Brahma suggested it would behoove them to go at once and beg his pardon.
And is also warning the devatas and the priests and brahmanas that generally Lord Shiva is very much pleased, but right now Lord Shiva is in a painful condition. He just lost his wife. He is very angry. He is so powerful that he can destroy the three planetary systems, three worlds very easily. So make sure that adopt a proper means to pacify him, something like that. Desiring a revival of the sacrifice, you should quickly go and beg forgiveness from Lord Shiva. Now, bereft of his wife Sati, his heart pierced by harsh words of Daksha, by whose anger the worlds and their protectors cannot exist. Saloka Lokapala. So it's like that. So since Lord Shiva currently is very angry, adopt a proper means to pacify him like that. When he is angry, the world and its protectors will no longer exist. You wish him to revive the sacrifice, should beg his pardon by falling at his feet very humbly and submissively. So like that. Lord Brahma is actually forewarning them, reminding them of the power of Lord Shiva. So then Devatas might ask that you know how to please Lord Shiva. Why can't you tell us? Please tell us the proper means to please Lord Shiva. Then Brahma says, Naham na yajno na cha yamanye na deha bhajo munayascha tattvam vidu pramanam balavirya yorva yasatmatantrasya na upayam vidiste.
Lord Brahma said that no one, not even himself, Indra, all the members assembled in the sacrificial arena, or all the sages would know how powerful Lord Shiva is. Under the circumstances, who would dare to commit an offense at his lotus feet?
Yeah. Here it says that neither I, na aham, na yajno, nor the current Indra, who is known as Yajna. In the first chapter, we discussed that Ruchi and Akuti gave birth to Yajna and Dakshina. That Yajna is the Indra for Swayambhu Manvantara period. Neither I, nor Indra, nor all of you Devatas, anyone with a body, and the great sages know the strength, influence, and the true nature of Lord Shiva, who is completely independent, who should provide a means to do this. If that is the case, who will provide the proper means to pacify Lord Shiva? It is not that easy. So Lord Shiva's greatness cannot be understood by neither I, nor Indra, nor by you Devatas, nor by the Brahmanas, sages. So cannot be understood because he is completely independent. Atma Tantrasya. So ka upayam which is said, even how we can pacify Lord Shiva, I also don't know. Like that, Brahma is expressing his astonishment. Devatas are saying that we are surrendered to you. Give us some way to do this. Brahma answers, not I, Brahma, or the present Indra, nor you sacrificers, no, nor the Vedas, know the truth about Lord Shiva or the extent of his strength and influence. So none of us can really understand how we can pacify him. But still, make an attempt to pacify him with humble approach. Something like that, Lord Brahma is saying.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Guruji, like it is said now that Lord, we say that He is all knower and He is Sarva Karana Karanam, so He knows everything. So when Yajna is the Lord himself, and he has been in the position of Indra because there was nobody to take up that post. So that's why it is said still that Indra also will not be knowing all this because he is Lord, he will know everything.
Because now, see, it is not like that they don't know anything. It is a etiquette. One cannot directly say that I know everything. Let us go and do it. When somebody is affected, we should give that regard to that person. And by the way, vis-a-vis, here don't see Yajna as a Indra. Yajna is Lord Vishnu. See Yajna is Indra only. So if it is not like Yajna, who is expansion of Lord Vishnu, if it is not any other normal Indra, how Indra will know about Lord Shiva?
Yeah,
So,
then it is okay.
so a general rule. So in these two cases, we should see like that. So it's like that.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu.
Brahma only, but according to position wise, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva is superior to Lord Brahma. He is another non-different from Lord Vishnu in one sense. So in that way.
Thank you, Prabhu. Means
So it
Prabhuji,
is
that means because Lord Yajna is in the position of Indra, that is why he will take how the normal Indra, any other Indra would have been, he takes that position that way.
yes. He behave like ordinary normal Indra only.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu. Thank
Even if Brahma knows about him also, but he will never say that I know. That is the nature of the great souls. In spite of knowing everything, the great souls always say that I don't know anything.
you. Yeah.
So that is the etiquette.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Saitamaadishya suranajastutay समन्विता पितृभिः स प्रजेशै ययौ स्वधिष्ण्यां निलयं पुरद्विषा कैलासमद्रीप्रवरं प्रियं प्रभो.
After this instance,
After thus instructing all the demigods, the pitas and the lords of the living entities, Lord Brahma took them with him and left for the abode of Lord Shiva, known as Kailasha Hill.
So in the previous purport, Prabhupada talks about this loka daiviyesha gunamai mamamaya duratya mamyeve prapadyante mayam yatam tarantite. The best course of action is to surrender to Supreme Lord, surrender to Guru and Krishna. So here, in order to remedy the mistake that they have done, the best course of action is to surrender to Lord Shiva. Even though we don't know how to surrender to Lord Krishna, how to please Lord Shiva, but we can surrender to him. We all go and fall at his feet. That will make Lord Shiva pleased. So in that way. So then what Brahma is doing now? After thus instructing all the devatas, Lord Brahma, along with the pitas, devatas, and the lords of the progeny, that is Prajapatis, departed from his place and went to the abode of Lord Shiva, known as the Kailasha, the best among the mountains, which is very dear to Lord Shiva. Having said that, I also don't know how to please Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma himself accompanied all the affected party, the devatas, brahmanas, rishis, sages, etc., to the abode of Lord Shiva in order to please, appease, or pacify Lord Shiva. So that is the conduct of Lord Brahma. So it's like that. Now they are going to the abode of Lord Shiva. So whatever they see on the way, whatever they see in Kailash, everything is very nicely presented from verse number 9 all the way up to verse number 32. There is a very nice description about Kailash. Janmaushadi tapo mantra yoga siddhairnaretarair justam kinnara gandharvair apsarobirvrutam sada.
The abode known as Kailasha is full of different herbs and vegetables, and it is sanctified by Vedic hymns and mystic yoga practice. Thus, the residents of that abode are demigods by birth and have all mystic powers. Besides them, there are other human beings who are known as Kinnaras and Gandharvas and are accompanied by their beautiful wives who are known as Apsaras or angels.
So, if you remember, in the third canto, chapter 15, there was a description about Vaikuntha. Now here in this chapter, there is a discussion about Kailash. Later in the seventh canto, after Hiranyakashipu defeated Indra, Hiranyakashipu enters into heaven. There is a description of heaven. Like that in the Bhagavatam at various places, there is a wonderful description of different places. When Lord Krishna comes to Madura to kill Kamsa, that time there is a description of Madura. And the description of Vrindavan also many places it comes in the Bhagavatam. So like that, there is a wonderful description of different places in the Bhagavatam at many places. So it's like that. Kailasha is always filled with persons perfected by yoga. Those people who practice yoga and perfect yoga, Ashtanga yoga process, they'll go to Kailash. Those who perfect their life by the chanting of the mantras, they go to Kailash. Those who perfect their life by performing austerities, tapasyas, they go to Kailash. Those who purify themselves by taking the shelter of the herbs, they go to Kailash. Those who are purified by their good birth, they will also go to Kailash. It's like that. Kailash is always filled with persons perfected by yoga, mantra, austerity, herbs, and birth. And with the devatas, kinnaras, gandharvas, and apsaras. All these different people are residing in Kailash. So it's like that. 14 verses, verse number 9 to 32 describe Kailasha. Naretarai means. Actually, 14 verses directly talk about Kailash, and then few more verses talks about many other things. Verse number 9 to 14, 8 plus 10, 18, 22. Actually, 24 verses describe Kailash, not 14. It's like that. नानामनीयै शृङ्गैर् नानाधातु विचित्रैर् नानाद्रुमलतागुल्मैर् नानामृगगणावृतैर्.
Kailas is full of mountains filled with all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals and surrounded by all varieties of valuable trees and plants. The top of the hill is nicely decorated by various types of deers.
Kailash is endowed with peaks of various jewels, colorful with many minerals, covered with various trees, creepers, bushes, and filled with various animals. Nanamala prashravanarair नानाकन्दरसौ सानुभै रमणं विभ्रन्तीनां रमणैः सिद्धयोषिताम्. Kailash is filled with many pure waterfalls and various caves and plateaus. It is enjoyed by the wives of the perfected beings who sport there with their husbands. All the perfected beings such as Gandharvas, Apsaras, Kinnaras, Kimpurushas, they are residing here. And they all enjoy along with their spouses in this area, wonderful area. Ramamanai means with their lovers. Kailasha gives pleasure to the wives of the perfected beings who play there with their husbands. It's like that. The abode of Kailasha is meant for all these perfected beings who enjoy in the company of their spouses. So in that way. Mayura Keka Virutum मदान्दाली विमूर्छितं प्लावितैरक्तकण्टानां कूजितैश्च पतत्रिणाम्.
On
Please read.
Kailas hill, there is always the rhythmical sound of the peacocks, sweet vibrations, and the bees humming. Cuckoos are always singing, and other birds whisper among themselves.
Kailasha resounds everywhere with the cries of the peacocks and bees blinded by the sweet honey. It resounds with the dawn outcries of the cuckoos and their birds. The peacocks cry everywhere There is a noise like a group of householders talking. So it's like that. So many peacocks are there. The combined sound is like the so many householders are talking to each other. Like in Sunday Fish program, when many devotees come, they all talk to each other. Lot of sound will be there around. The bees blinded with intoxication are like singers who intone various ragas with notes, improvisations and modulations. It's like that. There are so many honeycombs and all the bees are neck filled with honey. So they are intoxicated and they are singing. They are buzzing here and there. That is like the singing of various different tunes by different people together, something like that. The cries of the cuckoos and other birds are long drawn out. Plavitai. The cuckoos are making long sounds for long time, continuously, something like that. So this entire area is filled with so many the birds with their chirping sounds, etc. and bees, etc. Ahvayantam ivoddastair dvijan kamadugairdrumai vrajantam iva matangair grantam iva nirjarair.
There are tall trees with straight branches that appear to call the sweet birds, and when herds of elephants pass through the hills, it appears that Kailasa hill moves with them. When the waterfalls resound, it appears that Kailasa hill does also.
Kailasha with the upraised branches of desert trees, Kama Drugai, seems to be calling out to the birds as guests. The trees are so tall, they appear to be calling the birds, please come, take shelter in my branches, something like that. When the elephants move about, the mountain itself seems to be moving about because the Kailasha mountain is white in color. The elephants are also white in color. When the huge elephants are moving, it seems that the mountain, a branch of the mountain is moving, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, many other places. Here it is not written, but Kailash mountains are all made of silver. They're all white in color. Yeah. Silver. Inside the mountain, everything is silver. And surface of the mountain, there is ice. Not this Kailash, which is there in the Mansarovar. The original Kailash where Lord Shiva stays. He stays in the greater Himalayas. Not here. With the waterfalls resounding, the mountain seems to be calling out. When the water is falling from the cliffs of the mountain, so that seems to be the mountains are calling people to come up, come, like that. The birds are like the Brahmana guests being invited by the mountains. The mountain seems to move when the elephants move about. The mountain seems to talk with the sweet words with the sound of the waterfalls. So these are different ways the Kailash mountain looks like to them.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, what you explained to, I think Binit Prabhuji is there. I didn't understand that this Kailash and that Kailash means what exactly.
Okay, this you will understand in the fifth canto. There is a Kailash mountain in the greater Himalayas. We have Himalayas here on the northern boundary of India.
Yeah, the people go to Mansarovar and all that thing, no?
This is a replica of the original Kailash, which is there in the greater Himalayas. In the Bhumandala, there is Jambudipa. In the Jambudipa, there is Bharatavarsha. On top of Bharatavarsha, there are Himalayan mountain. So in that Himalayan mountain, on one corner, there are Kailash mountain, where Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati actually stays. So that mountain is called Kailash mountain. Okay. And a replica of that mountain is there on our Himalayas, where we have the deity of Lord Shiva only, not Lord Shiva personally there.
Okay, so the means Himalaya, which is there in the Jambudvipa, that is different from whatever Himalaya is there in here in India, right?
Yes. This is simply a small replica of the original Himalayas.
Okay. Thank you.
Our Himalayas height is only 1 kilometer, not even 1 kilometer, around 9,000 meters or something like that. 9,000 meters, huh? That means 9 kilometers. But the actual Himalayas are around 10,000 yojanas. That means 1,30,000 kilometers height.
Oh, Krishna.
So it is like that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
When will we get to see the originals of everything?
When one attains this consciousness like that of Madhvacharya, because Madhvacharya went there and
Yeah.
to see Srila Vasudev, he saw everything. So like that.
Because
One need
many
to
things,
attain
when we say it is that no duplicate is here, whatever is original is somewhere else. That's why I was wondering.
that. Certainly, if one has a desire to see, and if one works for it, one can attain it without fail. So then what else is there in
Prabhuji, about the Vrindavan and all, we say, Prabhuji, that we don't say that this Vrindavan is replica. No? We say that it is not different than the Vrindavan.
See, non-differences. This is called Bhama Vrindavan. And since Krishna coming here, he also brought along with him his own abode. So Lord Krishna cannot stay in a rented apartment. When he comes, he stays his own bungalow.
Yeah.
It's like that. Even wherever Lord Shiva comes here in this, that's why this our Himalayas also in that section where Lord Shiva's deity, that is called Kailas. Even wherever Lord Shiva temples are there all over India, they are also called Kailas. In Nasik, Triambakeshwar, that is also called in one sense Kailash. Sri Srisalam, very close to our hometown, that is also called Kailash. So wherever Lord Shiva temples are there, that entire area is also called Kailash. He cannot stay in a rented place. Wherever he stays, he also brings his own abode, Kailash.
Okay. So
But
whatever.
Prabhuji, the Sadashiv who is there, that is different from the Shiva and all these people. So what is that? His place, Shiva Loka, that is called, na?
That is called Sadashiva Loka.
Yeah,
Sadashiva is
Sadashiv Loka.
Brahman itself.
Okay. So there it is not called Kailash and all those things. It's only here within the material world it's called Kailash.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
No, there also we can call Kailash because wherever Lord Vishnu is there, that is called Vaikunta, whether it is in the material world and the spiritual world. Tirupati is Bhuloka Vaikunta, Pandharpur is Bhuloka Vaikunta, Srirangam, Kanchipuram, they are all Bhuloka Vaikuntas. So like that, wherever Lord Shiva is there, that can be called Kailash. That is also Sadashiva Loka also can be called Kailash. No problem.
Okay.
So it's like that. Prabhupada says that wherever ISKCON temple is there, wherever Radha Krishna deities are there, that is called Vrindavan. So it's like that. The simple understanding is that the Lord does not stay in a rented apartment. He stays wherever he stays, he brings his own abode. So it's like that. And we ourselves name our homes with some name. Lakshmi Nilayam, Srinivasa Nilayam, this Nilayam, that Nilayam. So why not Lord's abode? So, Mandarai Parijataischa, Saralaischopa Tamalai Salatalaischa, Kovidara Sanarjunai, Chuta Kadambairnipaischa, Naga Punnaga Champakai, Patalo Lashoka Bakulai, Kundai Kurabakairapi.
The whole of Kailasha hill is decorated with various kinds of trees, of which the following names may be mentioned. Mandara, Parijata, Sarala, Tamala, Tala, Kovida, Asana, Arjuna, Amra, Jati, Mango, Kadamba, Duli Kadamba, Naga, Punnaga, Champaka, Patala, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, and Pura Baka. The entire hill is decorated with such trees which produce flowers with fragrant aromas.
Yeah. Kailash is decorated with trees such as Mandara, Parijata, Sarala, Tamala, Tala, Kovidara, Asana, Arjuna, Mango, Kadamba, Dhuli Kadamba, Naga, Punnaga, Champaka, Patala, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, and Kurabaka. So Chuta and Amra are type of mango plants. Nipa is a variety of Kadamba, something like that. So there are the different variety of plants that are there in the Kailash mountain. And then what else are there in Kailasha? Swarnarnashata patraischa vararenuka jatubi kubjakair mallikabischa madhva vibis madhavibis chamanditam panasodumbarashvatta plakshanagroda hingubi gurjarair oshadibhi ओषधिभिः पूगै राजपूगैश्च जम्बुभिः
There are
कर्जुराम
sorry,
कर्जुराम्रातकाम्राद्यै प्रियाला मधुकेन्दुगै द्रुमा जातिभिरन्नैश्च राजितं वेणुकीचकै. There are 3 verses. You can read 3 translations.
there are other trees also which decorate the hills, such as the golden lotus flower, the cinnamon tree, malati, kumja, malika, and madhavi. Kailasha hill is also decorated with such trees as kata, jackfruit, julara, banyan trees, palkas, nyagrodhas, and trees producing asfida. Also, there are trees of betel nuts and burja patra, as well as rajapunga, blackberries, and similar other trees. There are mango trees, priyala, maduka, and inguda. Besides these, there are other trees like thin bamboos, kichaka, and varieties of other bamboo trees, all decorating the track of Kailasha Hill.
These are different trees that are there on the Kailash mountain. Renuka is a cardamom, Jati is jasmine, Venu is a bamboo which has not hollow, and Kichaka is bamboo which has hollow. Here one interesting is that Hingubi, there is a Hingu plant also from which comes Hingu directly. So it's like that seems to be many plants and many trees whose names we never heard. At least I have never heard. Yeah, these are all there in Kailash mountain in the great Himalayas. Kumidoptala kalhara shatapatra vanardibhi nalinishu kalam kojat kaga vrundopashobitam mrugai shaka mrugair krodair mrugendrair rukshashalyakair घवयै शरद्भिर्व्याघ्रैर् रुरिभिर्महिषादिभिः.
There are different kinds of lotus flowers, such as Kumuda, Utpala, and Shatapatra. The forest appears to be a decorated garden, and the small lakes are full of various kinds of birds who whisper very sweetly. There are many kinds of other animals also, like deer, monkeys, boars, lions, yakshas, and satyakas, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, and many other animals who are fully enjoying their lives.
Kailash is decorated with forests of red lotuses, blue lotuses, white water lilies, and Shatapatra lotuses growing in lakes, and with flocks of singing birds, deers, monkeys, boars, lions, bears, porcupines, gayals, sharabas, tigers, antelope, and buffalo. So these are the different variety of flower plants and the animals. They are all there in Kailash. And there is the animal called as Nabi. It is a musk deer because the musk is grows at the Nabi portion of the deer. That's why it is a special deer, musk deer. Then further continues. Karnantraikapadaashwasyair nirjustam brukanaabibhi kadali kanda samruddha Nalini Pulinasriyam Pariyastam Nanadaya Pariyastam Nandaya Satya Snana Punyatarodaya Vilokya Bhuteshagirim Vibuddha Vismayam Vayayau.
There are varieties of deer such as Karnantra, Ekapada, Aswasya, Vrika, and Kasturi. The deer which bears musk. Besides the deer, there are many banana trees which decorate the small hillside lakes very nicely. There is a small lake named Alaknanda in which Sati used to take her bath, and that lake is especially auspicious. All the demigods, after seeing the specific beauty of Kailash hills, were struck with wonder at the great opulence to be found there.
And they get to see many more other different variety of animals such as Karnantra, cow-eared animals, Ekapada animals, Ashwasya, horse-headed animals. They are not horses, but their heads are like horses, wolves and musk deer. There are attractive river banks covered with forests of banana trees. The mountain is surrounded by the Ganga waters, made more sacred by the bathing of Mother Sati. The devatas, seeing that mountain of Lord Shiva with wonder, went there. So by looking at that mountain filled with all these auspicious trees, plants, waterfalls, and lakes, rivers, etc., eventually they came to see Ganga, which becomes more auspicious by being bathed by Mother Sati. So Lord Prabhupada writes that, so since Ganga comes down from the Jata of Lord Shiva, it is natural that Ganga will be there around Kailash mountain. And that Ganga becomes more auspicious by the bathing of Mother Sati. So in that way. The mountain was made beautiful by river banks covered with banana groves. It was surrounded by the Ganga, whose water was made more sacred by the bathing of Sati. Then, what they saw? The Dadrushu Tatra Teramyam Alakam Nama Vaipurim Vanam Saugandikam Chapi Yatra Tannama Pankajam Nanda Chalaka Nandacha Saritau Bhayatapura Tirthapada Padamboja Raja Sativa Pavane.
Thus the demigod saw the wonderfully beautiful region known as Alaka in the forest known as Saugandhika, which means full of fragrance. The forest is known as Saugandhika because of its abundance of lotus flowers. They also saw the two rivers named Nanda and Alaknanda. These two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda.
So the devatas and all, led by Lord Brahma and all the assembled sages and everyone, on their way, they saw at that mountain a pleasant city called Alakapuri and the forest called Saugandhika, where there were lotuses called Saugandhika flowers. Outside the city, where the rivers Nanda and Alakananda, purified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord, that is Lord Shiva. So on their way, first they saw Alakapuri, which is the abode of Kuvera and his followers. Kuvera resides in a city known as Alakapuri, which is located next to Kailash. And adjacent to this Alakapuri, there is a forest called Saugandhika forest, filled with so many Saugandhika flowers. If you remember Mahabharat, during Vanaparva, when Pandavas came to Greater Himalayas in search of Arjuna, in order to meet Arjuna very quickly, who went to Swarga. So one day, one lotus flower comes and falls next to Draupadi. Draupadi takes that flower and she finds it very attractive, very nice. She requests Bhima to fetch some more flowers. And Bhima went up. He meets Hanumanji, and by the information given by Hanumanji, Bhima goes to a lake surrounded by so many lotus flower plants, all this Saugandhika flower plant. So he plucked so many flowers He was bathing in the water pond. Then the Yakshas who are guarding this entire area, who are guarding the Alakapuri, who are guarding this lake, who are guarding the Saugandhika forest. So they came, they become angry with Bhima and they started fighting with Bhima. Bhima started fighting with them, started killing them, and then eventually understanding the subject matter, Yudhishthira Maharaj comes up, stops Bhima from fighting with the Yakshas and begs forgiveness from Kuvera, etc. So many things happened. So they all happened here in this Alakapuri. And this Saugandhika forest is nothing but the lotuses which Draupadi requested and Bhima collected from. So that is about this particular thing. That is where after crossing Alakapuri, as they go forward, they came across Nanda and Alakananda, two rivers. This is where in this Nanda Alakananda rivers only Nalakuvara and Manigriva were bathing. When Nardamuni came, they were bathing with many women, the heavenly women. When Nardamuni came, they did not come out. The women came out and covered themselves, and but these two people were still continuing to bathe. They did not respect and they did not do anything. So out of compassion, Nardamuni cursed them to become the trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. So that pastime also happened in this area known as Nanda Alakananda. Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is there next by only, na? Lord Shiva country every day visits Nanda Alakananda. Wait. Lord Shiva is there, he visits, and Nanda Alakananda are not different from the branches of Ganga. Ganga is coming from Vishnu's feet only, na? It is sanctified by Lord Vishnu, Trivikrama. No, these are two lakes created by the Ganges water only. Ganga is flowing from the top to the bottom. But in Kailas, it is flowing through, but there are two reservoirs. They are known as Nanda Alakananda. So, yeah. There are two different branches, two different streams of Ganga, we can say. Something like that. There were lotuses there called Saugandhika. It in the singular sense, it represents a species. Outside the city, there were two rivers, Nanda and Alaknanda. Outside the Kuvera city, there are two rivers. So these are the wonderful things that are there on their way. They are all get to see all these things. Then continues. Yayo Surastriya Kshatar Avarudya Swadishnata Kridanti Pumsha Sinchantyo Vighaya Rati Karshita Yayostasnana Vibrashta Navakunkuma Pinjaram Vitrushopi Pibantyamba Payayanto Gajagaji.
My dear,
Read Mataji.
my dear Shata, Vidura, the celestial damsels, come down to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment, they enter the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water. After the damsels of the heavenly planets bathe in the water, it becomes yellowish and fragrant due to the kunkuma from their bodies. Thus, the elephants come to bathe there with their wives. The she elephants and they also drink the water, although they are not thirsty.
So these rivers are used for bathing. So overall bathing is mentioned here. The wives of the devatas, fatigued from lovemaking, descend from their abodes and entering the waters of these rivers, they play, splash their husbands with water. Though not thirsty, elephants drink this water and make their wives drink this water, which has become yellow and fragrant with the kunkuma from the bathing of the women. So this Ganga, which also expands in the form of Nanda and Alakananda, which are there in this Kailash mountain region, are very auspicious, very auspicious. Even the heavenly damsels, they want to sport in these waters of Ganga, along with their consorts, along with their husbands. And eventually, even the elephants which are there around in that area, they continuously drink the waters of these Nanda Alakananda rivers, even though they are not thirsty. And they make their wives and children also drink this water, because this water is so special, so purifying and so fragrant. So that is the greatness of this particular Ganga. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes about many things. about how damsels, the heavenly damsels, are also getting fatigued and they want to be relaxed by bathing in this river. And but the ultimate relax one can get is only by taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why it is called a Tirtha Pada. So even though this place may be considered to be Tirtha, whenever we go to any holy place, we will have a water body that is called Tirtha. So Lord Vishnu is called a Tirtha Pada, the Lord who gives shelter to all the holy places. When we go to holy places, we take bath to get purified ourselves. But taking shelter of Lord's lotus feet will completely purify us. So that is ultimate purification. So in that way, Prabhupada talks about this. Elephants, though not thirsty, drink the waters of those rivers because the waters have become yellow and fragrant from the bathing of the heavenly woman. So any place can never become a holy place. Only when the Lord visits or the Lord's devotees visit, that place becomes a holy place. So something like that. So then they happen to see Alakapuri. They happen to see Saugandhika forest. They happen to see Nanda Alakananda river. They happen to see all the devatas bathing there, etc. etc. Then they move on further. Tarahema Maharatna Vimanashata Sankulam Justam Punyajana Stribhir Yatakam Sattadidganam Hitva Eksheshwarapurim Vanam Saugandhikam Chatat Drumai Hrudyam Chitramalya Falachade.
The airplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky decorated with occasional flashes of electrical lightning. While traveling, the demigods pass over the forest known as Saugandhika, which is full of varieties of flowers, fruits, and desire trees. While passing over the forest, they also saw the region of Yaksheshwara.
Yeah. Alakapuri was filled with hundreds of airplanes made up of gold, pearls, and precious jewels, and with women and filled with lot of women. It was like the sky filled with the clouds and lightning. So the entire Alakapuri city is like the sky, and that city is filled with hundreds of airplanes. The airplanes are like the clouds, and the airplanes are boarded with the women. The women are like the lightning. So that is the analogy given here. The devatas pass through Alakapuri, the city of Lord Kuvera, and the city of the Yakshas, and the Saugandhika forest, pleasant with the desert trees, having colorful flowers, fruits, and leaves. So thus they witnessed the entire Alakapuri city filled with lot of airplanes, filled with a lot of women, etc. etc. That is being mentioned here. Tara means spells. The city is compared to the sky, the lightning to the woman, and the clouds to the airplanes. The devatas pass through Alaka and the forest. The sentence continues all the way up to verse number 31. It is a continuation. They are continuously moving, passing through each and every place. So in these heavenly places, every person have their own personal airplane. If they want to move from one place to other place, they have their own chartered airplane. So that does not need any petrol or any fuel. It can go by chanting simply one mantra. So that is the description of the heavenly abodes. Then Raktakantakaganika Sarvamandita Satpadam Kalahamsa Kulapreshtam Karadanda Jalashayam Vanakunjara Sangrishta Harichandana Vayuna Abhi Punyajanasrinam Muhur Unmatayanmana.
In that celestial forest, there were many birds whose necks were decorated reddish and whose sweet sounds mixed with the humming of the bees. The lakes were abundantly decorated with crying swans as well as strong stem lotus flowers. All the atmospheric influences unsettled the forest elephants who flocked together in the sandalwood forest, and a blowing wind agitated the minds of damsels there for further sexual enjoyment.
Yeah. The forest was filled with the humming of bees and the warbling of the flocks of cuckoos, and had lakes filled with lotuses, attractive to flocks of swans. The forest would increasingly agitate the minds of the women constantly through the breezes carrying sandalwood fragrance caused by the elephants rubbing against the sandalwood trees. The entire atmosphere is so aromatic, everyone gets attracted by the aroma that is spreading all directions. It's like that. The entire atmosphere is very pleasing. That is the description. The forest was decorated with the songs of the cuckoos and buzzing of the bees. It had lakes in which there were lotuses dear to the swans. The minds of the women were additionally agitated with the desire, since the fragrance incites their lust. So, in the purport, Prabhupada writes that in this material world, anywhere some such kind of places are made, that place immediately invokes the lusty feelings. But in the spiritual world, we have so many wonderful places like that. But there are no such kind of feelings because everyone is completely absorbed in the glories of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada tries to draw parallels between material world and the spiritual world. Vaidurya sopana vapya utpala malini praptam kim purushayir drishtva ta arad dadrushurvatam sayojana satosteda padona vitayapyata पर्यकृता चलच्चायो निर्नीडस्तापवर्जिता.
They also saw that the bathing ghats and their staircases were made of Vaidurya money. The water was full of flowers. Passing by such lakes, the demigods reached a place where there was a great banyan tree. That banyan tree was 800 miles high and its branches spread over 600 miles around. The tree cast a fine shade which permanently cooled the temperature, yet there was no noise of birds.
Passing through all these places, they are coming near to Kailash, that is being mentioned here. Seeing that forest used by the Kimpurushas and the pools which were decorated with lotus garlands, furnished with steps of cat's eye jewel. Vaidurya Krita Sopana. Vaidurya is called as cat's eye jewel. I don't know. The devatas then saw from far off the banyan tree of Lord Shiva. Vata Vriksha. Lord Shiva does not have any home. He stays underneath the banyan tree, seems like that. So he is sitting underneath a banyan tree. The tree description is given in the next verse. The tree was 100 yojanas high. Sa yojana shata utteda. 1 yojana is equal to 13 kilometers. That means 1300 kilometers is the height of the tree. From Bombay to Vijayawada, the central India, from this west coast to the east coast. That is the height of the tree. And the branches extend 75 yojanas. 3/4 of the tree height or the branches are going in all directions. The radially, the branches spread to a distance of 3/4 of 100 yojana. That is 75 yojana. That is around 600 miles, as Prabhupada writes here in the translation. So basically, 1300 kilometers multiplied with 3 by 4.75. Approximately 1000 kilometers is the length of the branches in all directions. And its shade was uninterrupted. It had no birdness and was cool. The entire tree is filled with birds, not filled with any birds. There are no bird nests and birds. It is very quiet, very calm, very cool. Prabhupada writes that There are no nests. So, and there are no birds, and there are no sounds of the birds. So this kind of place is very suitable for hearing Krishna Katha or performing meditation. That's why Lord Shiva always in the meditation, because there are no disturbance by any other living entities under this tree. So that is the size of the tree in the Himalayas. If you remember, I mentioned the height of the great Himalayas, 10,000 yojanas. That means 1,30,000 yojanas is the height of the Himalayas. The width of the Himalayas was 2,000 yojanas. That is 26,000 yojanas is the width. And the length of the Himalayas is around some 50,000 or 60,000 yojanas. It is very less, very more, big, very big. So on top of that Himalaya, somewhere, a mountain is known as Kailasha. In that Kailasha mountain, there is a huge banyan tree whose height is 100 yojanas, 1300 kilometers. And branches go in all directions, about 75 yojanas, about 1000 kilometers. Underneath that tree, Lord Shiva is sitting and performing meditation or discussing Krishna Katha, etc. Vapya, wait. Vapya means ponds. From far off, the devatas saw the banyan tree. Its height was 100 yojanas, and its branches spread 75 yojanas in all directions. It gave unbroken shade. Because there were no bird nests, there was no disturbance from their noise, so that one can perform meditation or Krishna Katha continuously without any disturbances. So, like that. Yes, Prabhu. Louder.
What must be the height of the inhabitants of Kailas or Lord Shiva?
You just proportionally you can understand what will be the height of a banyan tree, and in comparison to us, what could be the height of a banyan tree around us? 50 feet. What is the height of us? 5 to 6 feet. So 1:10. If the height of the banyan tree is around 100 yojanas, so 10:1. So 10 yojanas is the height of Lord Shiva. It is like, is it like that? Yeah, maybe. They might be very big in size. They may not be like us. They might be very big. So, Prabhuji is asking what could be the size, the height of Lord Shiva and other personalities along with Lord Shiva. That is here, na? Here in Bharatavarsha. This is not Bharatavarsha, this is outside. Anyone can guess what could be the height of Lord Shiva and other personalities associated of Lord Shiva? Kuvera, Yakshas and others.
In the last chapter, even we heard that Veerabhadra created by Lord Shiva, who possessed, means he was almost like in the same in power like Lord Shiva. His height, he was touching the sky. They were saying that.
Yes.
So, that must be very tall. We can't even imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, we can have that benefit of doubt. No problem. So now, starting from verse number 33 to 41, they have seen the tree underneath Lord Shiva is sitting. So now they are going to see Lord Shiva. Now the description of Lord Shiva is mentioned in the next 8 verses. Tasmin mahayogamaye mumukshu sharane sura dadrushu shivamasinam tyakta marsham ivantakam sanandanadyir mahasiddhay santai samsanta vigraham upasymanam sakyacha bharta guhyaka rakshasam.
The demigods saw Lord Shiva sitting under that tree, which was competent to give perfection to mystic yogis and deliver all people. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up all anger. Lord Shiva sat there surrounded by saintly persons like Kuvera, the master of Guhyakas, and the 4 Kumaras, who were already liberated souls. Lord Shiva was grave and saintly.
Under that Vatavruksha, under that banyan tree, which was the shelter of the aspirants for liberation, Mumukshu Sharane. That banyan tree is the shelter for the aspirants of liberation, because they can perform meditation on it. That huge tree, na? 1,000 kilometers this side, 1,000 kilometers that side, 2,000 kilometers entire shade of the tree. So in one corner, one can sit and perform meditation to attain liberation very easily, something like that. Under the tree, which was the shelter for the aspirants for liberation, and which bestowed great powers, the devatas saw Lord Shiva sitting, appearing like death, antakam iva, because they are already tasted the anger of Lord Shiva through Veerabhadra. Now they are coming in front of Lord Shiva. So they saw Lord Shiva to be the destroyer, but seeming to have given up his anger. Taktva amarsham. First said, when they saw Lord Shiva from far, he appeared to be Lord Shiva. They felt like, okay, here is the destroyer of the entire universe. But when they came nearby, they saw that Lord Shiva's demon is like very much pleasing. He seems as he has given up the anger. He was peaceful, samshanta vigraham, and he was worshipped by the peaceful, perfected beings, such as the four Kumaras, headed by Sananda, and Kuvera, who is the close friend of Lord Shiva. Sakyacha. Kuvera is the close friend of Lord Shiva, because both of them are staying nearby. Alakapuri and Kailas are nearby cities, and Kuvera is the close friend of Lord Shiva, who is the protector of the Guhyakas and Rakshasas. The Guhyakas and Rakshasas are all under the care of Kuvera. They are living in Alakapuri. So Kuvera is there, four Kumaras are there, and they are listening from Lord Shiva. That is the scene. And Lord Shiva appears to be peaceful, having given up anger. So, and he is worshipped by the peaceful sages such as Kumaras and Kuvera. So that is the scene they are seeing, the devatas who appeared there. Initially, Lord Shiva appeared to be death, but by thinking of the offense committed to him, but eventually Lord Shiva appeared to have given up the anger toward the devatas. Sakya means by Kuvera. So after doing the needful, so it seems that Lord Shiva gave up the anger and became normal. So it's like that. So here Prabhupada talks about the position of Lord Shiva in relation to Lord Vishnu. So Lord Shiva, in one sense, direct expansion of Lord Vishnu, and is at the same time is non-different from Vishnu, at the same time is different from Vishnu also. So like that, his position is very much perplexed, very difficult to understand who Shiva is sometimes. So, but since he is non-different from Lord Vishnu, he is very much exalted. And his associates are also very exalted personalities like four Kumaras, Narada Muni and Kuvera, etc. etc. So it's like that. His wonderful position has been described in these two purports. And then it further goes. Vidya tapo yoga patam astitam tam adishwaram charantam vishwasuhrudam vasalyallokamangalam lingam cha tapasabhishtam bhashmadanda jatajinam angena sandhyabrarucha chandralekam cha bibrutam.
The demigods saw Lord Shiva situated in his perfection as the master of the senses, knowledge, fruitive activities, and the path of achieving perfection. He was the friend of the entire world, and by virtue of his full affection for everyone, he was very auspicious. He was seated on a deerskin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation.
Yeah. His personality and his bodily descriptions are given in these two verses. It says that the devatas and the brahmanas headed by Lord Brahma saw Lord Shiva, who is the Lord of the devatas, Adishwaram, who is the friend of the entire universe, Vishwasuhrudam, who is the shelter of knowledge, who is the shelter of austerity, who is the shelter of yoga, Vidya Tapo Yoga Patam. So Lord Shiva is the shelter of Vidya, Tapa, and Yoga. And how he was seen performing austerities for the benefit of the entire world. Charantam Loka Mangalam, because of his affection for the living entities, Vasalyad. If you remember in the third canto, when Brahma becomes angry with the four Kumaras when Brahma requested four Kumaras to get married and beget children, and they say no. Lord Brahma becomes angry. As he controls that anger comes out of Rudra. Then he told Rudras, get married and beget children. So without marriage only they started begetting children. They started creating children who are all like Rudras. And these Rudras are so hungry, they started devouring everyone who were created by Brahma. Even they came to Brahma to eat him up. Then Brahma told that no, don't create such kind of ferocious beings who are supposed to be created at the end of the universe, at the end of the creation, at the end of the day when universe has to be destroyed. So it is better that you don't create any more living entities. It's better you go to perform meditation. That will do good for you and it will do good for the entire universe. So then being ordered by Lord Brahma, since then Lord Shiva is performing meditation only for the good of the entire universe. For what purpose? Out of Vasalya, out of affection, he is performing austerities for the welfare of the entire world. Charantam Lokamangalam. That's why we see Lord Shiva's photos are all in the yoga posture. In that way. That was the request of Lord Brahma unto Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was the symbol of the Shaivites. Lingam cha tapasabhishtam. So Lord Shiva is the worshipful deity of the Shaivites. So in that way. He is dressed in deer skin, matted hair. He was holding danda. And reddish in limbs, smeared with ashes. His bodily complexion is reddish in color. And his whole body is smeared with ashes. And bearing the crescent moon. Chandra Lekamcha Bibrutam. The crescent moon is there on the jata of Lord Shiva. Have you never seen Lord Shiva's photo? Not the original moon, in the sense that is symbolic, in the sense after drinking that poison Nalahala, Lord Shiva's body became very hot. In order to keep that body cold, he requested moon to stay on his head. So moon, in one of his expansion, is staying on the head of the Shiva. So that moon is cooling Lord Shiva, whose body became very hot by drinking poison. So like that. He is the shelter of knowledge, austerity, and yoga because he starts these processes. He is the teacher of Vidya, Tapo, Yoga, etc. He performs austerity for the benefit of the world. Tapasa refers to Shaivites who take shelter of tapasya. And Sanyabhra Rucha means reddish. His bodily complexion is reddish in color. So this is how Lord Shiva appeared to the devatas headed by Brahma, being seated underneath that Vata Vruksha, huge banyan tree, and sitting in what is it say, meditation posture. In the next verses, his sitting posture is also described. How he is sitting, that posture is also described in the next verse. Upavishtam Darbhamayam Vrisham Brahma Sanatanam Naradaya Pravochantam Pruchate Shrinvatam Satam.
He was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narada, to whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth.
Lord Shiva was seated on a kusha grass mat among listening sages, and Lord Shiva was seated on a kusha grass mat in the midst of many sages who were listening to Lord Shiva. And among those who are listening Lord Shiva, Narada was speaking. Narada was asking so many questions on behalf of all the assembled sages unto Lord Shiva, who was asking about the eternal Vedas. Pruchate Brahma Sanatanam. Narada Muni is asking Lord Shiva about some of the essential truths of the Vedas in order to know about them. So Lord Shiva was sitting on the mat used by ascetics. Brahma means the Vedas. Previously, it was mentioned that Chanaka and others were worshipping Lord Shiva. They were present But Narada was the best among all the sages who were present there along with Lord Shiva because of Narada's bhakti. It should be understood that the main topic of the Vedas they were discussing was about bhakti. Since Narada is the spokesperson, obviously he might have asked questions about bhakti only, the very essence of all the Vedas. So the discussion might be about all the bhakti, how to practice bhakti, how to perfect bhakti, how to attain perfection by practicing bhakti. So such kind of discussions are going on between Lord Shiva and all the sages headed by Narada Muni. So this is what is going on there in the Kailas mountain underneath that particular banyan tree. Krutvorao dakshine savyam पादपद्मं च जानुनि बाहुं प्रकोष्ठे क्षमालम् आसीनं तर्कमुद्रया.
His left leg was placed on his right thigh, and his left hand was placed on his left thigh. In his right hand, he held Rudraksha beads. This sitting posture is called Virasana. He sat in the Virasana posture, and his fingers was in the mode of argument.
Lord Shiva's left foot was on his right thigh, and his left hand was placed on his left knee. He had beads on his right forearm, and his right hand showed the Taraka Mudra. This is how Lord Shiva is seen by the devatas. So he was seen sitting in this typical posture. Yoga scriptures describe the posture. Virasana is defined as placing each foot on the opposite thigh and placing the hands on the thighs. So Virasana is like a Padmasana, almost like Padmasana. Keeping a right feet on the left thigh, left feet on the right thigh, and keeping both the hands on both the knees. But here Lord Shiva is keeping only left hand on the left knee, not the right hand. Right hand is doing something else. What it is doing? The Tarka Mudra is described as follows. Reciters of mantra define the Tarka Mudra as placing the tips of the forefinger and the thumb together while spreading the other fingers. That is Tarka Mudra. So yes, so it is like this. The three fingers are left open and the thumb and the index finger are touching each other. This is like Tarka Mudra. And the left hand is on the left knee and right hand might be on the danda and like this and holding the mala also in the hands, something like that. He has beads on his right forearm and his right hand showed the Tarka Mudra. That is like Tarka Mudra, like that. So this is how Lord Shiva is seen being seated there in that underneath that banyan tree in Virasana posture. So that's how the devatas saw Lord Shiva being placed seated on that underneath the tree.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
Prabhuji, what is the relation of Rudraksha with Lord Shiva?
So Vaishnavas chant Tulasi, chant the holy names of Lord Vishnu with Tulasi Mala because Tulasi plant is dear to Lord Vishnu. And Shaivites chant the names of Lord Shiva with the help of Rudraksha Mala because Lord Shiva is the Rudraksha is dear, very dear to Lord Shiva in that sense.
What is Rudraksha? It is some plant product, Prabhuji.
Some kind of berry plant. If berries are there, if you dry them, how they become? Rudraksha also will be like that. There are also some set of plants.
Okay.
So they are there available in the north. In the Himalayas, generally these berries are there. So they bring from there and sell all over.
The name of the plant itself is Rudraksha.
Yeah, seems to be like that. I also don't know, but seems to be like that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone
Hare
else know
Krishna,
about
Prabhuji.
it can share.
Hari Bol, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I had a question. Like Lord Shiva, although he's using his beads, but he's always chanting Lord Ram's name. Then Lord Ram, तो वही please करेगा ना तुलसी beads. So why would he take Rudra?
See, don't apply our rules onto Lord Shiva. Lord
Acha?
Shiva may use, may not use beads. He is simply meditating upon his Ishtadev, whether it is Lord Ram or whether it is Lord Sankarsana, whatever, whomsoever. That is okay. But we don't have to put our rules on him.
No, I was just thinking because there's this famous shloka na, where Shiva tells Parvati that I'm always absorbed in the names of Lord Ram. That's what he
Yes.
says in Padma
Yeah, Sri
Purana, I
Rama
believe.
Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Ramanama Varane. That is what is being said. Many
Yeah,
times.
exactly. So he's always absorbed in the meditation of Lord Ram. So just
But that is true, but he also has his own followers. The many of the followers, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Bhuta Preta Pishashas, in order to engage them, he has to tell them to do something.
So they also,
For
like
there,
Shivais, they chant on Rudra.
yeah, they all chant the names of Lord Shiva.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then it continues further. Tam Brahma Nirvana Samadhi Mashritam Vipashritam Girisham Yoga Kaksham Salokapala Munayo Manunam Adyam Manu Pranjalaya Pranim.
All the sages and demigods headed by Indra offered their respectful obeisances unto Lord Shiva with folded hands. Lord Shiva was dressed in a saffron garment and absorbed in trance, thus appearing to be the foremost of all sages.
So in the previous purport, Prabhupada talks about that all the Ashtanga yoga practitioners generally take shelter of Lord Shiva, and hence Lord Shiva is called as Yogeshwara, the master of all the yogis. And that Lord Shiva meditates on the Yogeshwara, who is the master of Lord Shiva. So Lord Vishnu is Yogeshwara, Lord Shiva is Yogeshwara, and this shelter is taken by all the yogis, something like that. Prabhupada writes about the meaning of this word in the previous purport. So now what happened? The devatas and sages who just reached Kailash, offered respects with folded hands to Lord Shiva, who is the chief among all the meditators, who had a draped cloth over his knees, and whose mind was completely absorbed in the bliss of the Supreme Lord. Tam Brahma Nirvana Samadhi Mashritam. While discussing with Narada Muni, the four Kumaras, Kuvera, and others, Lord Shiva is completely absorbed in the Supreme Lord. Just like in the Yajna of Daksha also, when Daksha came in, everyone got up, but Lord Shiva did not got up because he was completely absorbed in Lord Vishnu. Same thing is happening now also. So in that way. Brahma Nirvana means the bliss of Brahman. The direct meaning of Brahma Nirvana means bliss of Brahman. But according to Prahlada, however, Nirvana means the bliss of realizing the Supreme Lord also. The wise know that, Prahlada Maharaj says in the 7th canto that, the wise know that direct contact with the Lord, which include the happiness of Brahman, destroys samsara for the sinful persons possessing material bodies in this world. Therefore, worship Paramatma who is situated in your heart. Prahlada Maharaj is talking to the sons of the various asuras in the school of Shanda and Amarka. When the Shanda and Amarka go out, Prahlad Maharaj started teaching about Lord Vishnu to all of them. So there is saying that the contact with Lord Vishnu, either by chanting his name, or by hearing, or by doing meditation on Lord's pastimes, etc., etc., the happiness one experiences surpasses the happiness of Brahman, and one can easily get freed from the clutches of samsara. Therefore, meditate on Paramatma who is there in your hearts. Like that, Prahlad Maharaj is instructing the sons of all the asuras in his school. So like that. Lord Shiva had completely concentrated his mind on that bliss Yoga Kaksham refers to the yogi's cloth draped in such a way to make the left knee firm. He was the chief of those who are dedicated to contemplation. Generally, to sit in Padmasana for a long time is very difficult. The legs starts paining. But the yogis who want to sit in that posture, they simply raise both the knees little bit above. They put one cloth around, connecting the back with both the knees, so that the knees are little bit raised and they kept in that firm position. Otherwise, the legs will lose themselves. It is very difficult to continue that posture. If you happen to see Yoga Narasimha, how he sits, he is not peacefully sitting. He will be sitting in a kind of a bent leg, something like that. There is a cloth wrapping around him. Even the sitting posture of Ayyappa in the South India, it is also somewhat like that. That is a proper yoga posture, because sitting in yoga asana, that virasana, is not possible for a long time. It is very difficult to continue like that. So they generally use a cloth to keep both the knees together, so that they don't feel pain and the legs will not be loose themselves. So that's how Lord Shiva is seen here. So in this purport, Prabhupada talks about the distinction between Brahmananda and Bhagavad Ananda. So here Brahman Nirvana is mentioned about Brahmananda. So Prabhupada talks about a little bit on Brahmananda, and superior to that is Bhagavad Ananda, serving the Lord, going to Vaikuntha, etc. etc. That comparison is given in the purport. And Prabhupada also at the end says that there is no point in performing yogasanas for some material benefits. So yogasanas are meant for purifying one's existence and realizing the Paramatma and then attaining liberation. So it's like that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I was just thinking that we have these four sampradayas, like bona fide sampradayas, in which one is Rudra Sampradaya also, which is like it's beginning from Lord Shiva. Ultimately, they are worshipping Lord Vishnu only, Lord
Yes.
Krishna. So who comes under them? Like, I don't know, like, who are the people come under that
In that
sampradaya?
Rudra Sampradaya, the prominent Acharya is Vishnu Swami. So
That
these,
one is given.
yeah, the devotees of this Rudra Sampradaya, we may not see so much. Some of them we can see in Vrindavan, otherwise they are there in the North India only, mostly somewhere close to Himalayas. When we go to Haridwar, Rishikesh, there you get to see these people more and more. They are not so popular, they are not widespread. That's why we don't see about them so much, we don't hear about them so much. At least Nimbarka Sampradaya, that Kumara Sampradaya, we see some in Nadwara, some devotees here and there. We hear about them. In Vrindavan also we hear about them because of Vallabhacharya, etc. etc. But Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, we don't see so many. That seems to be very minute in number. I heard that if you go towards the Himalayas, you get to see them more and more.
Okay. And apparently they worship Vishnu only now, even though they are under this sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya.
No, not apparently. They completely worship Lord Vishnu only. Their
But then
guru is like Lord Shiva.
their guru is Lord Shiva. But I have seen so many, like in North India also, many Jatadhari, Babajis. So some of them, they worship Lord Shiva only as their everything. Like,
No, they are all Shaivites. Not every
yeah,
Jatadhari
they
is
are
a
Shivas.
Vaishnava. So that Sampradaya is they are all Vaishnavas. They are not but in addition to them, we have so many these Shaivites like Agoras, Shaivites, and they are all direct worshippers of Shiva. They are not Vaishnavas.
So, I mean, what I'm trying to understand is that they have misunderstood Shiva, because Shiva's message is to worship Vishnu, and they are worshipping those Jatadharis or whosoever, Shivites, they worship Shiva only.
Okay. Ganesh ji compiled Mahabharat. So in one sense,
Yeah,
Ganesh ji message also worship Vishnu. But how
yeah.
many in Mumbai Siddhivinayak temple who visit worshipping Vishnu?
But at least they are aware that Ganpati has written this, right? I mean, I have
No,
seen so many Ganpati.
they are aware that Ganapati has written Mahabharata, but they are not aware that Ganapati is Lord Ganapath, Lord Ganeshji is suggesting everyone to worship Lord Vishnu. That they are not aware. They know that, okay, he wrote the book. He is the writer of the big book, biggest book in the entire history. So like that, though Lord Shiva was speaking about bhakti, but only few people will understand it and then follow it. Not that everyone. So others, they consider Lord Shiva to be the supreme Lord and they worship Lord Shiva. Their desires are different. They want to attain moksha. So they take shelter of Lord Shiva and worship him. And from that Shiva only another sect, Lord Shiva himself appeared as Shankaracharya and started Mayavad Sampradaya. They are another category again. So we have one category of Mayavadis, one category of Shaivites, one category of Agoras, and one category of what is this? Rudra Sampradaya Vaishnavas. So many variations under Lord Shiva.
Achha, one more thing. This is sub question. Since you mentioned about Ganpati writing the Mahabharata, I was just wondering that Srila Vyasdev compiled the entire Vedic literature. Mahabharata is just one part of it. So rest of the books or the writing was done by whom?
That we don't know. Who wrote the remaining books? Not clearly mentioned. At least for Mahabharata, it is mentioned that Ganeshji assisted. Some say that Ganeshji also scribed all the other books also. Vyasdev was continuously dictating one after the other, and Ganeshji compiled all the books also. Some say like that. I am not sure. I don't know. I did not come across any such thing.
The reason I asked because if he is also happened to write Bhagavatam, then when he writes 1.3.2 then people should have that sense. Anyway. So we are not sure who wrote the rest of the books.
No.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, any connection with Ganapati's Chaturbuja with Lord Vishnu?
I don't know, Prabhuji. See, the devatas can manifest multiple arms. They have that mystic potency. So it's okay. Since Ganapati and Lord Shiva, they are all ardent devotees of Lord Vishnu. So one way we can say that they are, in one sense, they are Sarupa. They attained Sarupa of Lord Vishnu. So he also has 4 hands holding 4 different weapons, something like that. His own weapons, not Vishnu's weapons, but his own weapons.
Yes.
So that's okay. They can manifest many more hands also. So he desired to manifest only 4 hands being follower of Lord Vishnu. So it's okay. It's according to his wish.
Okay. Thanks.
Like Durga Devi appears with 8 arms. Many times.
Many arms.
Sometimes many arms, sometimes 8 arms. So it's according to their wish, according to the need of the hour.
Okay.
So
thank you.
So now they are offering obeisances to Lord Shiva. That is being described here. Satupalabhya gatamatmayonim surasureshair abhivanditangri uttaya chakre shirasabivandanam arhatamakasya yataiva Vishnu.
Lord Shiva's okay, continue.
Continue.
Lord Shiva's lotus feet were worshipped by both the demigods and demons, but still, in spite of his exalted position, as soon as he saw that Lord Brahma was there among all other demigods, he immediately stood up and offered him respect by bowing down and touching his lotus feet, just as Vamandev offered his respectful obeisances to Kashyap.
Even though Lord Shiva was seated on Virasan, meditating as the Supreme Lord, as soon as the devatas all arrived there, headed by Lord Brahma, he realized that many people came. So immediately opened his eyes Then the devatas all who came there, they offered obeisances unto Lord Shiva. Then Lord Shiva, looking at Brahma, immediately got up and offered obeisances to Lord Brahma. Though most worthy of worship, Arhattama, Lord Shiva, whose feet are worshipped, seeing Brahma arrive with the devatas, stood up and lowered his head in respect, just as Lord Vamana respected Kashyapa. Lord Shiva respected Brahma because he was his father. Though Lord Shiva is most worthy of respect, he worshipped Brahma because he was his father, just as Lord Vamana worshipped Kashyapa, just as Lord Krishna worshipped Devaki, Vasudeva, Nanda, Yashoda, just as Lord Shiva also offered respects to Yudhishthira Maharaj in the battlefield of Kurukshetra and whenever he visited Hastinapur. That is a general customary of showing respect to the elders. So here, as soon as he saw Lord Brahma standing before him, Lord Shiva immediately got up and paid respects to Lord Brahma. Perfectly followed the etiquette. Even though Lord Shiva is worthy of worship by Lord Brahma, but since Lord Brahma is the father, Lord Shiva offered him respects. So, general etiquette. Now, Tata Pare Siddhagana Maharshibir Ye Vai Samantad Anunila Lohitam Namaskruta Praha Shashanka Shekaram Krita Pranamam Prahasan Ivatma Bhu.
All the sages who were sitting with Lord Shiva, such as Narada and others, also offered their respectful obeisance to Lord Brahma. After being so worshipped, Lord Brahma, smiling, began to speak to Lord Shiva.
Yeah. So then, other great persons along with the sages who were all around Shiva, such as four Kumaras, Narada Muni, Kuvera, they also offered respects to Lord Brahma because their father also Lord Brahma. They all offered respects to Lord Brahma. And Brahma, smiling, then spoke to Lord Shiva, to whom he offered respects. Having accepted the respects of Lord Shiva, Narada Muni, four Kumaras, Kuvera, and all other sages who are sitting there, then Lord Brahma in return offered respects to Lord Shiva. With a smile, he is going to speak. Because Lord Brahma, no, even though you might have appeared as my son, but I know your transcendental position. You are non-different from Lord Vishnu. Those who were with Lord Shiva, such as Narada, along with the sages, offered respects to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, being offered respects, spoke to Lord Shiva, who was offered respects by the devatas. Though they were intently fearful, they showed joyful faces externally. Even the devatas were very much afraid, still they are doubtful. Lord Shiva really pacified, really give up his anger, he will become again angry and kill us completely, just like he killed Daksha. Internally they are afraid, but externally they are showing smiling face. So to invoke Lord Shiva's pleasure. So that was the scene. So in that case, in that condition, Lord Brahma began to speak to Lord Shiva. So now from 42 to 53, there are prayers offered by Lord Brahma unto Lord Shiva. So if apparently seeing all these prayers seems to be like Lord Brahma offering prayers to Lord Vishnu. So Lord Shiva is glorified the same terminology as it is used for glorifying Lord Vishnu. So some acharyas say that here Lord Brahma is seeing the potency of Lord Vishnu in Lord Shiva. In one sense, Lord Shiva is direct expansion of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Brahma is offering the prayers unto Lord Vishnu, his worshipful deity. And other way is that Lord Brahma is offering prayers of Lord Vishnu, prayers unto Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, glorifying Lord Shiva, just like a Shaivite would do. A devotee of Lord Shiva, who is a follower of Lord Shiva, who is a Shaivite, how they will consider Lord Shiva the Supreme Lord and they worship prayers to Lord Shiva, seeing him and treating him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in these two ways, we can see the words spoken by Lord Brahma. But anyway, Lord Brahma has come here to pacify Lord Shiva and rejuvenate the sacrifice which was destroyed by Veerabhadra. So in that way also, just to solicit the compassion of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma is glorifying the position of Lord Shiva. So in that way, these are different ways we should understand and see these prayers. If you literally see, one may think that okay, why Brahma is doing like that? Brahma knows about Lord Vishnu, position of Lord Vishnu. Why he is making such a mistake here? It is not like that. Brahma knew what is what, and then he is doing the needful in this condition. So in that way. Brahmovacha jane tvam isham vishvasya jagato yoni bijayo shakte shivasya chaparam yattad brahma nirantaram.
Lord Brahma said, My dear Lord Shiva, I know that you are the controller of the entire material manifestation, the combination, father and mother of the cosmic manifestation, and the supreme Brahman beyond the cosmic manifestation as well. I know you in that way.
So Prabhupada quotes a verse from Brahma Samhita, says that Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, they are no difference. They are like the milk and curd. That is the only distinction between those two. So like that Prabhupada explains. So here Brahma says that, my dear Shiva, I know you are the Lord of the universe. Jane Tvam Vishwasya Isham. You are Vishwanath. I know that you are the master and the Lord of the entire universe. You are the creator of the universe. You are also the Lord of Prakriti. You are also Lord of the Purusha. Jagato Yoni Bijayo. Jagato Yoni. The source of the material universe is Prakriti. So you are the Lord of Prakriti. And Bijayo. You are also the Lord of all the living entities that are appearing in this material world and performing various activities. Here Bija stands for all the living entities who are also called as Purushas. So in that way. So my dear Lord Shiva, you are the Lord of the universe, you are the Lord of the Prakriti, you are Lord of the combined Jivas. And you are superior to Shakti and Shiva. Shakte Shivasya cha param. And that you are also the Brahman without qualities. Yattad Brahma Nirvantaram. You are superior to Shakti and Shiva. You are also the Brahman without qualities. So like that, the identity of Lord Shiva in his original form is being described here. Though you offer respects to me, you are most powerful, since you are the one with the Supreme Lord. You are non-different from the Supreme Lord. Who is the Supreme Lord? You have the Supreme Lord. What all you do? So here on he speaks, taking the mentality of a Shaivite. The Shaivite think of the Lord. Shaivites think of the Lord, Prakriti and Purusha at the form of Sadashiva. That is the explanation of this verse. So in one sense, here Lord Brahma seeing Shiva as Sadashiva and glorifying the position of Sadashiva as the master of the universe, master of Prakriti, master of all the living entities, and master of Shakti and Shiva, who appear in this material world. So in that way. That Sadashiva who expands as Shiva and 11 Rudras in this material world, they also worship Sadashiva, their original source. So in that sense. So like that, he is not just offering respect to the person who is sitting there, he is offering respect to the source of that person who is sitting here. So in that way. So Lord Brahma is offering praise to Sadashiva, the original source of Shiva. I know you are the form of Sadashiva, the Lord of the whole universe composed of Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha is Hiranyagarbha, all the living entities. Because I know that you are superior to Prakriti and Purusha of the material world. These items are explained. They are Shakti. Prakriti is Shakti and Purusha is Shiva. But I know that you are the famous Brahman without differences. You are also known as Brahman. So these are the different ways Lord Shiva is glorified and prayed by the Shaivites. That's why all the Shaivites, then generally they will take shelter of Lord Shiva in order to attain Sahajya Mukti. They always say that we want to attend Shivaikyam. Shivaikyam means Kaivalya. They want to become one with Lord Shiva. That is basically they want to become one with Brahman. So in that sense, Lord Shiva is seen non-different from Brahman. So like that. Tvameva Bhagavan etat Shivashaktyo Sarupayo Vishwam Srujati Pashyasti Kridan Purnapato Yata.
My dear Lord, you create this cosmic manifestation, maintain it and annihilate it by expansion of your personality, exactly as the spider creates, maintains, and winds up its web.
So in these verses, whatever prayers offered by Brahma, they are offered to Sadashiva. And Sadashiva is non-different from Mahavishnu in one sense. Because we discussed during our discussions in the third canto, second canto, when Mahavishnu glances upon Prakriti or Pradhana, that glance carries Kala Shakti and Jiva Shakti. That Kala Shakti is transmitted in the form of Sadashiva. So that Sadashiva in one sense non-different from Mahavishnu. So whether prayers are offered to Mahavishnu or Sadashiva, they are in one sense both are same. So that Sadashiva expanded as 11 Rudras. One among the 11 is Lord Shiva, who is there in Kailas now. So he is offering the prayers to the original source of Shiva. In that way we have to see. O Lord, by your forms as Shiva and Shakti, Shakti means Parvati, we can say Sati or Parvati, you create, maintain and destroy the universe, just as a spider acts upon his web. You as Sadashiva, expanding yourself as Shakti and Shiva, create the universe, maintain and annihilate, just like a Uranabi, a spider creates the web and maintains it for some time in order to catch the insects and feed upon, and eventually the spider itself eats up the web and goes to a different place and creates new web once again. That is the nature of the spider. Spider creates its own web, maintains it for some time, then eats it up and again goes to different place, creates new web and maintains it for some time, like that. So the my dear Lord, you does not need anybody else's help. You just using your energy, Maya Devi, Shakti, you create, maintain and annihilate the entire material universe. So it's like that. Because Lord Shiva is Swamsha and Shakti is Lord Shiva's shadow, they are both called Swamsha. So Sadashiva's Swayam direct expansion is Shiva and Sadashiva's shadow is Prakriti or is Shakti. So in one sense, both of them are is Swamsha expansion only. In that way, they are seen to be same and different. So it's like that.
In the purport, Prabhupada says that
Louder, louder.
mode of ignorance is considered very much lower than others, but in the higher sense, it is also auspicious.
Hmm.
How is it auspicious?
I also don't know how it is auspicious. That's why I did not discuss. Of course, we always say that Lord Shiva is the Gunavatar of the ignorance. So whenever we hear about ignorance, we develop a despicable face, but not like that. Here, Lord Shiva, though is in charge of the ignorance, but he is very auspicious. So taking the reference of Lord Shiva, Prabhupada is talking like that. So because keeping in mind with Lord Shiva, Prabhupada is saying that. Though Lord Shiva is the in charge of mode of ignorance, but Lord Shiva is very auspicious. In that sense, you can see. Then Lord Brahma further continues. Tvameva dharmartha duga vipattaye dakshena sutrena sasarjitadvaram tvayaiva loke vasistascha sevatavo yan brahmana shraddadade dritavrata.
My dear Lord, your Lordship has introduced the system of sacrifices through the agency of Daksha and thus one may derive the benefits of religious activities and economic development. Under your regulative principles, the institution of 4 varnas and ashramas is respected. The Brahmanas therefore vow to follow this system strictly.
Here Lord Brahma going further details. You have using your Shakti, you have created the universe. And in that universe, you have created Varnashram system so that they can accomplish Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha by the performance of Yajna. So like that is telling, O producer of Dharma and Artha, you have created sacrifice like a cloth with threads through Daksha, through the medium of Daksha for producing Artha. Performing sacrifice is the Dharma of the Grihasthas. Performance of sacrifice is meant to get Artha. Artha in the sense not the wealth, but Artha in the form of the natural facilities. The king is supposed to perform yajna so that the rains will come, so that the grains will come, so that everyone becomes prosperous. Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, verse number 14. Anyone remembers? Shuru se. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanya dhanna sambhava. Yajnat bhavanti parjanno yajna karma samudbhavaha. That karma indicates the varnashrama duties of the people in general, dharmic people in general. So especially when it comes to the grihasthas, the yajna is one of the important activity. So by the performance of yajna, once dharma is accomplished, by which one's artha is obtained. Artha in the form of rains, and then grains, and then prosperity. So it's like that. It is you who have created the rules of varnashrama for the people, which the brahmanas follow with determination. The brahmanas not only follow, they also make sure that others follow the rules of varnashrama system, because they are the teachers of the society. They do the needful. They're like that, step by step, he is actually glorifying Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva's role and responsibility in this material world. So in that sense. So here he is seeing Lord Shiva as the source of Lord Shiva, that is Sadashiva, and he is seeing Sadashiva, not just Sadashiva, but the source of Sadashiva, that is Mahavishnu, who is the creator, who is the maintainer, who is the annihilator, everything. So in that way, you should see. O producer of Dharma and Artha, you created sacrifice like waving of cloths through Daksha for performance of Artha as part of Dharma. The respect for the Varnashrama system in the world has been created by you. Since Daksha is dead, because of the absence of someone to initiate Dharma, with the destruction of Dharma, there will be now misfortune for the world. For the sake of Artha, for the sake of prosperity and good culture, you have created Dharma of performing sacrifice. And the responsibility was given to Daksha. And Daksha was sponsoring on behalf of all the living entities in this world. But you have destroyed Daksha. By destroying Daksha, you have not only destroyed Daksha, but you have also destroyed Yajna. You have also destroyed the Varnashrama culture that you have only created. So, my dear Lord, please don't do this. You have created Varnashrama system for the benefit of all the living entities. And by killing Daksha, you are destroying that. So now there will be no more benefit of the living entities. Because you are compassionate towards all the living entities, kindly do not do this. So like that, Lord Brahma is making a request to Lord Shiva by stating that you are the creator of Varnashrama, you are the creator of the performance of sacrifice for the benefit of people in general. So like that. Hare Krishna, all of you are able to follow what Lord Brahma is saying to Lord Shiva?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Then he continues. Tvam karmanam mangalamangalanam kartu swalokam tanuse swaparam va amangalanam cha tamishramulbanam viparyayakena tadeva kasyachit.
O most auspicious Lord, you have obtained the heavenly planets the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, and the impersonal Brahman sphere as the respective destination of the performers of the auspicious activities. Similarly, for others who are miscreants, you have destined different kinds of hells, which are horrible and ghastly. Yet sometimes it is found that their destinations are just the opposite. It is very difficult to ascertain the cause of this.
Yeah, here is saying that, O auspicious Lord, O Mangala, you bestow Swarga or liberation to the performers of pious activities. So, Swa Lokam, Swa Paramva. So, Lord Shiva bestows Swarga for those who desire Swarga. Lord Shiva bestows liberation, Paramva, for those who desire liberation. Desiring either Swarga or liberation, they perform pious activities. Mangalanam Karmanam Kartuhu. People in general in this world, some approach Lord Shiva desiring entry into Swarga and perform pious activities, and others perform pious activities, auspicious activities, with a desire to attain liberation, and they approach Lord Shiva. When they approach Lord Shiva with a desire, you fulfill their desire very quickly, very easily. At the same time, you also award terrible hell to the sinful people. Amangalanam cha Tamishram Ulbanam. Tamishram and the Tamishram, they are different names of different hells. So you award Tamishra hell for those who perform Amangala activities. But why do you do the opposite to some people? Ken tad vipareya kena kasachit. Generally, for people who perform auspicious activities, you either award Swarga or liberation according to their desire. And for the people who perform impious activities, you award them hell. But now, in this yajna, they are performing pious activity, an auspicious activity for the welfare of the entire universe with a desire to go to Swarga or with a desire to get liberation. But you killed them and sent them to hell. You have punished them, created hellish punishment for them, hellish miseries for them. Why is it that, my dear Lord Shiva? Like that Brahma is asking. He is not questioning in that sense. So you are doing wrong, but I would like to know why you did like that. I want to know the reason. So this is your nature is for those who do auspicious activities, you award them either Swarga or liberation. For those you do Amangala activities, you award them Naraka. But they are all performing yajna, which is a Mangala auspicious activity. And you are sending them to hell. Opposite. What is this? You give the results of karma, O auspicious Lord. You extend Swarga to the performers of the pious acts, or even liberation. For the sinful, you give hell. But why should there be opposite results for some people? Pious persons like Daksha go to hell, and sinners like Ajamila get liberation. I am asking you this. Daksha is a pious person. He was given the responsibility on behalf of all the living entities to perform yajna. He is doing that yajna. Okay, in one sense, Daksha had bad terms with you alone, but he is performing yajna for the welfare of the entire universe. So from that point of view, it's a pious activity. And you have sent him to hell. On the other side, sinful personalities like Ajamila, who performed sinful activity throughout their life, and you gave them liberation. What is this? It's not fair. So I am asking this. Please give me the answer. Like that, Lord Brahma is asking Lord Shiva. Then Lord Brahma continues. Navai satam tva charanaarpitatmanam bhuteshu sarveshu avipashyatam tava bhutani chatmani apratagdrikshatam prayena rosho vibhavediyata pashum.
My dear Lord, devotees who have fully dedicated their lives unto your lotus feet certainly observe your presence as Paramatma in each and every being, and as such they do not differentiate between one living being and another. Such persons treat all living entities equally. They never become overwhelmed by anger like animals who can see nothing without differentiation.
So in the previous purport, Prabhupada is quoting this verse, Tatyenu kampam sudrikshmano bunjana megatma krutam vipakam. So whenever difficulties will come, the devotees will never question the Lord. They accept the difficulties and continue to offer obeisance to Supreme Lord. The same thing Prabhupada continues in the same purport. The pure devotees never make any distinction between the Lord's anger and his blessings. So whatever comes from the Lord, they accept it. But apparently from the material point of view, Brahma is speaking here. Seems to be like that. So devotees will never question, but why Brahma is questioning here? This is like in general discussion is questioning like that. Brahma is saying here that it cannot be from anger, because anger as it arises in animals does not generally occur in those who have surrendered to your lotus feet. Generally people who are like animals, they become very angry very easily. And I don't see anger, the mood of anger in your devotees. So when Brahma is saying in your devotees, Prabhupada says in Vaishnavas, there is the devotees of Lord Vishnu will never become angry. How can Lord becomes angry? So here Brahma is saying that even your devotees does not become angry. No, I don't think so. You will become angry. What you have done is not out of anger. There must be some other reason. So can you kindly tell me? Because you see, because your devotees see you in all living beings as Paramatma, or just they desire to see all beings as non-different from you, as an Amsha of you. Because all your devotees see your Amsha as Paramatma in every living entity. And they also see all living entities as an Amsha of Paramatma. Thus, they will never become angry with any other person. So, there must be some higher reason because of which you became angry with Daksha and killed him, who is performing auspicious activity meant for the benefit of the people in general in this world. So, it's like that. So, when Brahma asked, so please tell me, why did you kill Daksha and why did you liberate Ajamila? Then Lord Shiva said, the cause is my anger. Out of anger, I killed Daksha, and out of mercy, I gave liberation to Ajamil. As Shiva says like that, Brahma says, no, no, but that cannot be. It is only your mercy and not your anger that is expressed by Kaumatikanaya. If anger does not arise in the devotees, how could anger arise in you? If your devotee does not become angry, how can you become angry? I don't think that it is you have done it out of anger. You have done it only out of your mercy. The devotees desire to see you in all beings and see all beings as non-different from you as Paramatma. Or they desire to see all beings as non-different from themselves, experiencing others' happiness or distress as their own. Devotees always see others' happiness as their own happiness and others' misery as their own misery. And if your devotees are like that, how can they become angry? If your devotees does not become angry, how can you become angry? Whatever you have done to kill Daksha is all your causeless mercy. It is to pacify Lord Shiva. So, my dear Shiva, it is not out of anger, but it is all out of your causeless mercy that you have killed Daksha. There must be some higher cause. As a result of that, you have done this. We don't think that you have done this out of anger. So, like that. Able to follow this verse and the previous verse?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you. Others? If those who desire to see in that way do not become angry with the devotees, then what to speak of those who actually see in that way? Those people who want to see the Paramatma in every living entity and who want to see everyone as an Amsha of Paramatma, they do not become angry. And then what to speak of the Jivan Muktas who see actually Paramatma everywhere? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Asini Sucha Pakecha Pandita Samdarshana. How can they become angry? Then what to speak of you, their Lord, become angry? The devotees do not act as the animals which become angry generally speaking. This indicates certain exceptions such as the Kumaras anger at Jaya and Vijaya or your anger at Daksha even though you are self-satisfied. The Kumaras are peaceful, you are also peaceful, but the Kumaras expressed their anger toward Jaya and Vijaya and you expressed your anger toward Daksha. There must be a higher reason for this anger. It is not out of losing control or losing temper, not like that. So that is how Lord Brahma is trying to pacify Lord Shiva by various means. पृथक दिया कर्म दृशो दुराशया परोदयेनार्पित हृद्रुजोनिशम् परान्दुरुक्तैर्वितुदन्ति अरुन्तुदास् तान्मा वदेद्दैव वदान् भवद्विदा.
Persons who observe everything with differentiation, who are simply attached to fruitive activities, who are mean-minded, who are always pained to see the flourishing condition of others, and thus who give distress to them by uttering harsh and piercing words have already been killed by providence. Thus, there is no need for them to be killed again by an exalted personality like you.
Yeah. He further continues, those who are sinful, seeing differences between you and all the beings, seeing in terms of material benefit for themselves, who become angry at seeing the prosperity of others, always afflict others with harsh words and injure other beings. You do not have to kill them because they have already killed by the law of karma. The personalities like Daksha who see differences between the Lord and the living entities, because the devotees always see the Lord and devotees same, because the Lord as Paramatma of all the living entities and all the living entities are an expansion, Amshas of the Supreme Lord. They see Lord in all the Jivas in the Lord. But the personalities like Daksha who are sinful, they see the difference between you and all the living entities. And they see only in terms of material benefit for themselves. And those who become angry at seeing the prosperity of others. And such kind of people, they always cause pain to others by their harsh words, by their injuries, etc. etc. For such kind of people, you don't have to personally kill them because the material nature itself will award them the expected results for their behavior. They get the results on their own only. You don't have to personally exert anger upon them. You don't have to do this. You don't have to create Virabhadra personally like Virabhadra to kill Daksha, etc. Because for his own offense, for his own bad activity, Daksha will be punished by the laws of material nature. So, like that, Brahma is saying. But if I do not, Lord Shiva says, but if I do not give suitable punishment out of anger, then everyone would become sinful since they would not get results for their sinful activities. So when Lord Shiva says like that, Brahma is speaking all these words. Parodayena means by seeing the wealth of others. Aruntuda means they injure. Killed by karma means that by their offense, Daksha and others will die by the laws of material nature. We should not kill them because if they become the object of your anger, then they will never have the chance to become saved in the future. If they are killed by laws of material nature, they may go to hell, they may go through punishment, and they may be rectified by those punishments, and they will be given a second chance to get purified. But if you kill them, as Lord Krishna says in the last verse of the 16th chapter, Asurum yoni mapanna moda janmani janmani. They will never have a chance to rectify themselves. Please kindly do not do like this. For their benefit. Because since your purpose is to show benefit out of causeless matters to all, one and all, so kindly do not express your anger and personal sinful people like Daksha. Because by their own sinful activity, they will get results and eventually they will be purified. You don't have to do this. If you directly come and do this, they will have no hope that they will be rectified. So like that, Lord Brahma is saying here. Okay, Hare Krishna. Able to follow?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So we'll stop here and the remaining verses will continue in the next class. Few more verses are there, few more prayers are there. We'll continue those prayers and then continue with the next chapter. What did Lord Shiva do after being pacified by Lord Brahma, etc. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much.